All right, to start the practical flip tip on twisting, we are going to take a look at what we're going to do with our arms to activate tilt twist for front and back twisting. If you remember from part one, we talked about how tilt twisting is the most important thing you need to understand in order to be good at twisting. So the way this is going to be laid out is we're going to start by looking over the arms and what we're going to do. Then we are going to look at a drill you can try on the trampoline to help you kind of play around with the arms and see what they do, and just kind of get used to them for front and back twisting. And then we're going to look at how you can implement that into your flipping and twisting to increase, your twist speed or to learn how to twist in the first place. So for back and front twisting, the arms are different. They're exactly the opposite. So it's not that complicated. You just have to remember that it's not the same. An easy way to remember it is that when you're front twisting, you're going to follow your top arm. And when you're back twisting, you're going to follow your bottom arm. So to start with, for back twisting, if I'm twisting left, I'm going to drop my left arm and raise my right arm. Okay, this has to be done laterally to the body. So you have to do this to the side. If you do it just in front of you or behind you, nothing's going to happen. It has to be lateral to you or perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Now, what you can see is if you want to, you can also twist a second time. When you get halfway through, you can then drop your other arm and lift your other arm, which looks exactly the same as the first one you did. And what that does is, if done at the right time, at exactly half a turn, it will add to your tilt. It will start you accelerating faster into your twist, and it will help to combat some of the natural off-axis that happens when you tilt twist, making it a little bit easier to land upright, so you're not landing leaning to one side or the other. So that's for back twisting. For front twisting, it's going to be exactly the opposite. So I'm going to follow, if I front twist left, which you should try to twist both the same way on both front and back twisting. If I front twist left, I'm going to raise my left arm and drop my right arm. Okay, and then following my top arm. Again, when I get halfway, I can tilt again to increase my acceleration. Okay, now I know that that's with straight arms, and you're like, Julian, I'm never going to twist with straight arms. That's stupid. Why would I do that? Whether you're doing straight arms or bent arms, there's no difference. The only difference is that bent arms is a shorter lever, so you're twisting using your elbows rather than your hands. We'll talk about what that means later. I'll show you why they look exactly the same and what you'll need to know about that. So that's the arms. Now this is the drill we can play around with on the trampoline. We are going to do stomach drops and try to rotate to our back, and then we're going to add twisting. So as you land on your stomach, one arm is going to raise and the other one's going to drop. And if you follow that bottom arm, by that I mean lean your body toward it and look in that direction, you will follow that arm around in the twist, as you can see. All I had to do there was drop an arm and raise one, and I twisted a full turn to my back. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the second tilt. And what you'll notice is if you look closely, that accelerates the twist. Right when that second tilt happens, I get a little bit extra. So I'm going raise the right, switch, right at that half turn, and that's what gives me more. Right, so for back twisting, that's one of the best ways you can play around with figuring out the arms is just stomach drop to back, learn how to use your arms to initiate tilt. If you start raising an arm or dropping an arm and nothing's happening and you're like, I'm not twisting, why is this happening? It probably means that you are either not raising it laterally to yourself, you're not raising it strongly enough, or your body is not tight enough. Okay, those are usually the problems. If your body's loose, dropping an arm isn't going to help you because there's so much shape change happening in your body in all different ways that you really can't do one thing. So if you want to be good at twisting, you need to be able to keep a tight body. And as you'll see throughout some of these videos, my legs are the weakest part of my twisting, being able to keep them tight and together and as straight as possible. So if one thing I could do to start accelerating my twisting speed is practice keeping my feet and legs tighter. So the next thing we're going to do is practice for front twisting. So for front twisting, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to jump on our back, and we're going to rotate forward and then try to use the arms. So if I'm twisting left, so I'm going to drop my right arm, raise my left, and that gives me a full twist all the way to my feet, just dropping that arm. Okay? The important thing to know about tilt twist is there needs to be flip rotation in order to create tilt. So if I bounced on my back, went straight up in the air with absolutely no flip rotation, and then tried to drop an arm, nothing would happen. Because the way tilt works is we're flipping faster on one side than the other. So when I drop to my back and I'm going to my feet, that is flip rotation. It's not a lot of flip rotation, but it is flip rotation. And then when I'm dropping to my stomach and going to my back, again, that's flip rotation. It's not a lot, but it is flip rotation. We can also, once we get this, we can start adding the second tilt, where we drop an arm, and then switch again. So you can see me pulling my second arm down to finish that tilt and really lock in. So watch again, go to my back, drop the other one and raise the other one. So that's that second tilt. Okay, now let's talk about how you're going to now implement this into your flipping. So let's say you've played around with this a lot on the trampoline. You're starting to understand, okay, this is how I make my body twist using tilt. I'm not using myself off the ground anymore. I'm not using contact twist. I'm not using cat twist. I'm really dropping one arm, making one side of my body shorter. Then if you have a foam pit, absolutely the best place to learn how to twist, because you don't have to worry about landing. You can just focus on doing the tilt. If you don't have a foam pit, trampoline is the next best thing. You can do it on a trampoline. You just have to be a little more aware of your landing, which makes it's going to take a little bit longer for you to figure out because you don't get to just huck it as much. So if you're first learning, that's the best place for you to be, is either a foam pit or a trampoline, or both. If you already know how to twist, you don't necessarily need to be landing in a foam pit because you already kind of know how to land. You'll just be implementing this into what you're already doing. Don't be surprised if it makes you go a lot faster than you're used to, though, so be ready for that. But the first thing I want you to do for front twisting is I want you to do a flip, a straight body, front layout into the foam pit, drop an arm, follow your top arm, and just watch what happens. Well, I do that here, and you can see I got a double full out of just dropping an arm. So you can see as I take off, we're setting up, both arms are up, right arm comes across, left arm is up, I'm leaning toward my top arm side, and then I just get in tight and follow that arm around, and I get a double full out of it. It's important to just play like that and just kind of mess with it for a little bit, because it'll help you get used to following that arm. Because what will happen sometimes is you'll do a flip, you'll drop one arm, almost nothing will happen. You'll be like, what the heck? Why isn't this working? Almost always, if you just try to think more about raising that arm aggressively and following it, meaning leaning toward it, follow it around, that's going to help you get that tilt twist. I've taught 8-year-olds how to do front double full with this technique. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is we're going to learn how to do a half. Okay. Now, for halves, you don't need a lot of twist to do a half. If you try to do a half with the full tilt, dropping one arm all the way and raising one arm all the way, you're going to get too much and it's going to be really crazy. But let's watch this front half. Okay. It didn't look like I did a lot with my arms, but if you watch closely, I am doing tilt, just not very much of it, so that I can control how fast I'm twisting. You can tilt more or less to change how fast you twist. So if we watch here, both arms up, right arm is coming down, but not very much. Right? My right arm is dropped, so you can see right here, I am slightly shorter on one side than the other, following my top arm, right? But I don't let it get fully down, and then I stick it back out to the side to slow me down as I come down, right? So that's important for you to figure out, is that you don't have to necessarily max tilt for a half turn or even a full turn, but especially on halves, right? So that's how you're going to learn how to half. Learn how to half like that. Do a front layout. Try to keep your feet together better than I did, right? I threw this together at the end of a day, so I wasn't really worried about my feet, but if I were actually training my twisting, I would be picky about my feet. I'd be like, that looks stupid. Let me try to get my feet together-ish, legs straight. But learn how to just do a little bit of tilt on one side. Learn how to follow that arm and use that to get you around. Then we're gonna learn front full. If you didn't learn front full, shame on you. It's so useful and valuable and important. You probably won't use it a lot if you're a free runner, because we really don't use it a lot, but I think it looks really cool for one, and for two, it's a very valuable thing to learn when you're learning how to twist. So for front full, we're going to do the exact same thing, front layout, but this time we're going to drop our arm all the way, and I'm going to keep following that top arm. And that at the end, if I stick both arms out to the side, I cancel my tilt, right? And that makes me slow down. So if we watch that, I'm going flip, drop the arm, follow it around. And that's your full. You can see the ground the whole time when you do a full, so it's actually really nice. Teaches you how to spot, figure out where you are. You can learn how to twist later, because if you're not able to see the ground properly, or you're seeing it not at the end, like at the end, you should still be able to look at the ground. That means you're twisting late enough. If you can't see it anymore, it means you're twisting too early. It also lets you kind of feel where your feet are in the air, so you can know that you're twisting after your feet reach the top of the flip. So like as I'm doing this full, I want to start twisting when my feet kind of reach the top of the flip is when I really want to be wrapped into my twisting. You can do a little bit before that, as you can see here, and it still works pretty nicely. But usually the later the better at first, right? So then we're going to talk about how to do the bent arms, because you're like, okay, I'm doing straight arms. This is stupid. I'm never going to actually use this. So let's talk about the bent arms. When you do bent arms, it's exactly the same thing, as we can see here. It is exactly the same thing. That, right there with straight arms, is the same as that. The only difference is we're using our elbows as the lever instead of our hands. So then I want you to try front full, or whatever front twist you want, and do the exact same thing. As you can see, it's the same thing. Dropping one arm around, lifting one arm up, but with bent arms. Okay? You're gonna try that. That is now pretty much the conclusion of you understanding how to use your arms, at least basically. You know how to do it with bent arms, you know how to do it with straight arms. Now, when you do not a front full, when you do Rudy, when you do 2.5, when you want to actually really lock into a tilt twist, we have to start using that second tilt to really get locked in. So what we'll do there is we'll drop and raise, and when we get halfway around, as you can see, I'm doing that second tilt. I'm lifting my right arm back up and dropping my left arm, and then I'll stay locked in this equal arm shape and spin around. So as you can see, I go here, right arm drops, left arm raises, and then arms come back in to neutral. And we follow that around, right? And then we can use that to add more twists. So if I'm going for more, I'm going to want to 1, twist sooner, and 2, tilt more. So the more aggressively I lift that left arm at the beginning, the more aggressively my twist is going to start. And then the tighter in I can get after that with neutral arms, the faster I'm going to spin, right? So you can spin much more aggressively. That's my Rudy. And then when I want to spin the Randy, I raise much more aggressively with my left arm before I wrap in, which gives me extra tilt to work with. So that's front twisting. Play around with that. Make sure you watch the first part so you understand the concepts behind it, but play around with it. It's especially helpful if you've already learned how to twist and you're wondering why it's not great or why it's not going faster. Now, there are other factors in twisting fast, like we talked about earlier, being tight with your body, getting as long and straight as you can. And then there's other things you can do to add, like adding contact. You'll see a lot of people on trampoline when they do back twisting, they'll double bounce their opposite leg so that it turns it into almost a kick full. And what that does is, this is funny, but you can also tilt twist with your legs. So what they're doing is they're lifting one knee really hard off the trampoline, which causes a slight change in one side of their body. And then when they straighten it out and put their feet together, they're tilt twisting with their lower body as well, which adds more to their speed. Watch Dappy Have on Instagram when he does twists. Watch Wyatt Peterson. When they do twists on trampoline, you can see they do that. They do the double bounce their own leg, and it adds tilt twist with their lower body. So now, back twisting. We're going to basically do the exact same concept, but the other way. So we're going to start on the trampoline, all right, dropping my left arm to follow it around, all right, so I can do a half. Okay, as you can see, that one I dropped my left arm all the way, and you can see it was too much tilt twist. It was like difficult to control. As I came around, I had to stop really early and try to control it on the way out, which made it pretty crazy. So just like we talked about with the front half, you don't need a ton of tilt to do a half. Look, I can just do that. Right? So watch here. It's the exact same thing. Boom. Left arm drops, but not very much, just a little bit. Right? And then I'm following my left arm around. Right? Then for full, exactly the same thing. Drop the arm all the way, follow it all the way around. That's a full. It's exactly like we learned the front full. We're doing the same concept. And then we can add our second tilt. So this should accelerate our twist. We drop one, and then when we get to halfway, this is going to be probably the hardest part of learning tilt twisting, is learning how to separate the half. This is why learning back half is important, because you need to learn where half is. That way you can learn when to do the second tilt. Okay, and then if we drop that second arm, that should accelerate us. So if you watch this full, compared to the last one, you can see the twist gets wrapped in a lot quicker, which allows me to open out of it sooner, which means if you're trying to get double full or more than one, you're going to need to understand that second tilt to make it really effective. Now, again, let's talk bent arms versus straight arms. It's exactly the same. That right there, what I'm doing with my arms is exactly like I'm doing with straight arms, but with my elbows instead of my hands. So then you can try playing around with doing your full by doing that. Okay, as we can see, this is exactly the same. Going up, dropping left arm, raising right arm, following the bottom arm around, right? And that gives us our twist. It's exactly the same. Now, again, here's that second tilt. Boom, wrapping in. Okay, the second tilt we add here. So we go drop left arm, and then when I get to halfway, drop right arm so that I end up in evenly. It allows me to open a lot sooner, right? This is what's going to allow you to get a lot more twists out of your back twisting. So now here, let's talk about how we do more. Again, just like we talked about with the front Rudy and the front 2.5, we got to get locked into that second tilt. So I'm going to do my first drop of my arm. First drop, right arm raises over, and then at a halfway, I'm going to do the second tilt and then stay locked in like that and spin around. So you can see that on this double full. We are going to drop second tilt. You can, if you watch closely, you can see just by watching it where I accelerate, and that's where the second tilt happens. All right? So watch this closely. We have drop this arm right here where I'm about to drop my right arm and raise my left arm, right there. Now my left arm's up and my right arm's equal with it. That right there is where I start accelerating. Okay? And then we can use that to add more. Okay, like 2.5, triple full. It's all the same concept. So this is how you teach yourself tilt twisting. If you haven't learned twisting yet, learn it this way. If you've already learned it, try playing around with this. Add it to what you're doing. It should make you better because this is physics. At the end of the day, if you are twisting, you are doing some version of this or some version of contact twist. Contact twist can only get you so far. It's not going to be the best landing because it's going to be ouchy for your knees. Twisting as you land is not very good. If you're not doing a lot of contact and you're still twisting in the air, then you're doing tilt. You just may not be doing it efficiently. And learning how to do it more efficiently is going to make you twist faster. It just will. That's how physics works. So play around with this, right? See if you can use this to improve or learn twisting. And let me know how it works. Comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you figured anything out based on this. But make sure you're watching part 1 and then part 2, right? And then tell me what else you guys want to learn. I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy.